Hello again. We're going to read some more stories of Alfie and Annie Rose. And this one is about the baby Annie Rose. It's called Proper Words. Annie Rose could walk quite well, but she couldn't talk properly yet. She could only say 4 words. She could say Mummy, Daddy, No, and more. The rest of the time she talked in a private Annie Rose language, which nobody else understood. She talked to her toy lamb, and she could turn pages of the picture book from Alfie and read stories aloud to herself with lots of different voices. She was very good at getting people to understand when she wanted something. There she is, reading to her lamb. Can you see? In the morning, when Mummy went to collect Alfie from nursery school, she would take Annie Rose in the pram along. Annie Rose was always very interested to see the children coming out of school, and her favourite person was Alfie's best friend, Bernard. Whenever she saw Bernard, she would shriek, "Hi, hi, hi, hi," and wave her arms and kick her legs. Bernard wasn't very polite to Annie Rose. He would pop out his eyes at her and move his jaw from side to side like this. And he would gibber like a chimpanzee, or make funny faces like that, which would make Annie Rose laugh. There he is. And Annie Rose is having fun. Can you see? He sounds like full of fun. One day, Bernard and his mummy came to tea at Alfie's house. The mums were sitting in the kitchen chatting and drinking tea, while Alfie and Bernard went off to play together. Annie Rose wanted to join in too, but they wouldn't let her. They hid behind the curtains and kept as quiet as mice. Shh! While Annie Rose went about the room looking for them. She couldn't find them because she wasn't very good at looking. There she is. And there are the boys hiding. Can you see? That was a bit unfair because she wants to join in. "Quick, quick," shouted Bernard. "There's a crocodile!" When Annie Rose gave up and they settled down to play on the floor. Then he, Bernard and Alfie jumped on the sofa and pretended they were on a rock in the middle of a river, and Annie Rose was the crocodile in the water, coming to eat them. When Annie Rose tried to climb on the sofa too, they pulled up their legs and they pretended to be frightened. Ah! Ah! Poor Annie Rose, she didn't understand that game. She wanted Bernard to make funny faces at her. She would say, "Goo goo gora da da." "Why don't your baby talk properly? Why don't you teach her?" said Bernard to Alfie. There is Annie Rose, and there are the 2 boys. They're teasing her a little bit, aren't they? "I'll teach her if you like," said Bernard. "Who's that?" said Bernard to Annie Rose, pointing to Alfie. And Annie Rose didn't answer. She just pointed at Alfie too. "What's my name then?" said Bernard next. Annie Rose answered in her Annie Rose language. It sounded like Bora Bloodadun. "No, it's not," said Bernard. Bernard told her, "It's Bernard. Bernard. Bernard!" he shouted each time he said it. He hid his face in a cushion and then popped out at her like this. "Bernard! Big Bernard!" he would say. Annie Rose thought that was a great game and a wonderful joke, and she laughed and laughed. And when it was time for Bernard to put on his coat and go home, Annie Rose got upset. She held him very tightly around the waist and wanted to say, "Please stay more and make funny faces at me." But she couldn't, could she? There she is. And there they are playing that funny game with the pillow, and he's saying, "Bernard." The next day, Annie Rose, when picking up at school time, was sitting in a pushchair, sucking her thumb, singing to herself, while she and Mummy waited for Alfie outside. Bernard was the first to come out. He was running up and he was wearing a paper hat which he had made that morning. It had painted black eyes and row of teeth on it. When he saw Annie Rose, he spread out his arms like that, and he swooped down, woo, like that. There he is. Can you see him swooping up at her? And there's his hat he made. Well, Annie Rose would like that. Annie Rose smiled. She kicked her feet and held out her arms. "Darn it," she said. Bernard stopped zooming. "Darn it," said Annie Rose, very clearly and loud. "I do believe Annie Rose has learned to say your name, Bernard," said Mummy in surprise. "I've never heard her say that before." Then all the mummies and daddies who were waiting too stopped chatting and smiled at Annie Rose. "Darn it," said Annie Rose firmly, pointing at Bernard and looking around at everyone. Look, did they see her? She was very pleased with herself. There she is. There's Bernard. There's Annie Rose pointing. And there she is saying about all the mummies and daddies are looking at them. "I've taught your baby to talk," Bernard told Alfie when he came running up to join him. Alfie didn't think much of Annie Rose's cleverness. To tell you the truth, he was rather annoyed she'd learned to say Bernard's name first. She was his baby sister after all. Annie Rose soon learned to say Alfie's name as well, and many other words too. But from that time onwards, Bernard always made special faces for her when he came out of school, and sometimes he even let her hold on to his hand. And when he came to play at Alfie's house, he would put her in a cardboard box and shove her around the kitchen floor. Annie Rose liked that better than anything. "More, Bernard, more!" she would shriek happily. It looks like Alfie's friend Bernard's become one of her best friends too, doesn't it? That sounds like a good idea. If you got little baby brothers and sisters, maybe you could teach them something while you're at home. I'll see you soon. Bye.